tillage time. Oh, what's in here? Good and dark. It's like I like my turkey meat. Welcome to the Red River Valley of North Dakota. A land flowing with milk and honey. You're watching Beet Farmin Mitch. Well, hey everybody, I'm Beet Farmin Mitch, and we are grinding through planting. We're probably about halfway done with the entire crop this year, so I'm gonna fire this guy up, let her warm up for a couple minutes, take a quick lap around the yard, and then we're gonna hit the road. I just fired up the Case 435 Steiger there, and we have a 55-foot field cultivator hooked up on here. So you can tell it's a field cultivator because the shanks, they're closer together, they aren't spaced super far apart, and they've got these nice V sweeps on them that are good at cutting the weeds out. The reason I'm using this today is because I'm gonna go work a field that was sunflowers last year, and there was some sugar beets on part of it too, but mostly because there were sunflowers there. Some of them have started to sprout and grow, and we don't want sunflowers in our wheat crop because that is what we're gonna put on that field, and so we want to make sure we kill the weeds good with this. Gotta love folding up. So here's the Autosteer screen on this one, and it's actually a WAS system. So you see that WAAS. So there's two main types of Autosteer. Oh, there's my end rows warning, but I'm not near that. So there's two main types of Autosteer. It's WAS and there's RTK, right? So WAS, it'll take satellites and then a receiver on the tractor and kind of pinpoint where it needs to be, right? So they say it's accurate to the foot. So when you're going with WAS, you can do that on like stuff like this, like tillage, because it doesn't have to be perfect. And then there's also RTK, and that's accurate to the inch. And so how that works is there's satellites, but then there's also a tower on the ground, and then there's also the receiver on the tractor, so it can actually pinpoint it more accurately up to the inch. And so when we're planting sugar beets and different crops, and any crop for us for that matter, we want to make sure that we're using RTK systems in our tractors instead of just WAS. Now when I drive with Autosteer, I still have to turn around on the headlands and do a bunch of manual work a lot of times. But as far as back and forth in the field, I'm not, you know, I can spend my time looking backwards instead of looking forwards, which is nice because then I can see what kind of job the tool is doing, especially when I'm running the air seeder. I'm sitting sideways all day. I mean, just sitting sideways. So you can kind of see that dark line there. That's the sugar beet ground over there, and this is sunflower ground here. So I'll have to make sure I'm going to come and seed wheat on all of this when I come back. It's an 80-acre chunk, so I better keep an eye on seed depth. I don't think I'll change much, but I always like to check it because you never know. Because it might vary from this sunflower ground to the sugar beet ground. There might be different moisture levels, and just you got to keep an eye on that because you don't want to be planting seed in dry dirt when there is moisture down there. Yeah, you can see here, these are sunflowers. These were not considered a weed last year, but they are this year. We don't want those growing in our wheat crop. See, the field cultivator's doing a good job pulling them out here. And all these white granulars, this is fertilizer here getting worked in. Yeah, this looks pretty good. You can kind of see how they're just kind of barely in the ground there. That's what we want. We don't want to be ripping hard into this. We just want to be working just enough to pull those weeds out, mix the fertilizer in, kind of stir the soil a little bit, and then we want the make sure we're going deep enough behind the tractor here to kind of work the tracks up, but no deeper. It looks pretty good behind me. It's not chunky or anything. These are root balls from the sunflowers, so not really much you can do about that, but it doesn't look too bad. Well, time to start seeding some wheat. So this field I'm going to is only a couple miles from our farmyard, so I'm gonna actually fill in the farmyard quick with wheat seed and fertilizer. So I gotta get my truck situated, kind of wing around with the drill, and then start filling up. And I can do about 95 acres on a fill, so it's an 80-acre chunk. Fill it full, should be pretty good. If we run out early, that would be, something wouldn't be right. So that's the lever that runs the fan. I switched it over to auger, so actually this auger now has hydraulic power, so if I lift this lever, it'll run the auger. So I'm gonna fill here, so what I gotta do, there's 3 tanks on here. First 2 I'm gonna fill with seed, and the last one I'm gonna fill with starter fertilizer. Got the seed truck and the fertilizer truck, so I always start with seed, fill those first 2, and then do the fertilizer. And so we treat our wheat seed with a fungicide and insecticide blend to just kind of keep the disease away from it, keep the insects away from eating it so that it can get time to get germinated and get established. So the seed in this truck is actually dyed red so that it doesn't get mixed up with food grade wheat and into the food supply. So I'll show you my little air seeder trick here. And so when I'm filling by myself, I gotta back up, but of course I don't wanna back the truck up too far to where I smash the auger apart, because that would be catastrophic. And so what I do is I take 2 arm lengths. I figure out kind of about where it needs to be. I measure 1 arm, right about there, and I measure a 2nd arm, and that's about 3 feet for me. And then I throw my glove on the ground. And so I figure if I back my back truck tire up to my glove, should be about right where we want to be. Switch over to the fertilizer tank, and I'll have to drive the tractor forward some. There's fertilizer. Well, let's ride. And don't worry, things don't always go that smooth. I'm convinced beef jerky is truly one of the finer things in life. There's just something fun about folding and unfolding machinery. Well, I'm going here now, so what I'm doing is I'm making my first Headland Pass. So what I do when I pull into the field is I'll do 2 rounds on one end, and then I'll do the main pass, and then I'll do 2 rounds on the other end, and then I'll just go back and forth until the field's done. Well, lucky for you, we're in the tri-state area here. We've got the meeting of the 3. We've got the Trinity. We've got sunflower ground here. We've got sugar beet ground right here. We've got edible bean ground right there. We have sugar beets growing right here on the edible bean ground, and we've got wheat growing on the sunflower and beet ground. And I want to check my depth on both the beet ground and the sunflower ground quick, and take a quick peek at the sugar beets, and then keep rolling. So I got my depth checker here. We're gonna take a look. So there is a wheat seed. This is the sugar beet ground. You can see that that's in that dark colored ground down there. That's in good moisture. That's not too deep either. So that's what I like to see there, because you don't want it in this dry powdery stuff on top. Now let's check the sunflower ground. I'm assuming our depth is going to be fine just where we're at, but I like to check just to be sure. Wheat seed's not too hard to find though. Oh yeah. Yep, we're down a good moisture there. And since I'm right by the sugar beets, might as well take a peek at these quick. See, there's the furrow, or the seed discs. Open up the ground. Dang, mosquitoes are coming out. Oh, there's beet seed. Okay, so there's a beet seed. I accidentally kind of swept them out of place. So about 4 inches and some, 4.5, something like that. I'm sure there's gonna be another beet seed up here. I can find it. Oh, there was one. Well, I saw it before I swept it out, but that was down in good moisture down there, and it looks good. We like our monosem planters. They do a good job. Pretty much around here, it's all John Deere and monosem planters, because they're probably the best at planting sugar beets. Nice thing about having tracks, it's such a nice smooth ride in this thing in the field. Really floats over the soil nice. And I'm running with the front wheel assist on, kind of keep the traction as we're going. Thermos is empty, my lunch box is almost empty. Thought I had some cucumbers in here. Yes, I do, and some salt. You know, something I've learned over the years, it never rains until it actually rains. You can watch the weather as much as you want, and I mean, that's, you know, gives you a good idea. But sometimes it'll call for rain and it doesn't rain. Sometimes it does rain when it calls for rain. You just never know. You never know it rains until it rains. I remember when I was in high school, my friends would ask me if I could hang out, and I was like, well, it'll probably rain today, so yes, never rain. Keep chiseling these wheat acres in. And hey, thanks for watching. This is kind of like you riding in the bunny seat with me. It's the closest thing you can get. And so thank you for joining along with me today. This is Beet Farmin Mitch, and this is not sugar, this is salt. But don't forget to keep it sweet.